This story is entitled Layla's Proposition. Chapter 1. WWE Diva Layla L is fuming, not only because she had missed the last 3 months due to a leg injury, but also because she had never gotten a shot at the Divas Championship after Paige lost it to AJ Lee. Now that AJ is not in the WWE anymore, Layla wants a shot at Brie Bella and the title. She just doesn't know how to go about getting it. Layla is walking down the corridor towards Stephanie McMahon's office. Well, look who finally decided to come back! Naomi Knight said snidely as Layla walked past her and Natalya, who were about to head out to the ring for their match. Layla ignored Naomi and kept walking. Naomi rolled her eyes at the Egyptian English woman. Natalya smiled at Layla. The Canadian generally liked Layla. She was sweet and kind to her fans, as well to a lot of the other divas if they were feeling down about losing a match or an injury. Naomi didn't have to be such a bitch to Layla on her first day back. Layla? Natalya asked. Yeah, Nat? Layla said to the blonde. I'll tie her up nice and tight in the sharpshooter for you, Natalya said with a wink. Thanks, Nat, Layla replied before turning around and continuing on to Stephanie's office. John Cena's music blared as he raised his United States Championship high above his head, having successfully retained the title against Heath Slater. Then Rusev and Lana came to the ring. The crowd cheered for Lana and chanted, "We want Lana!" which enraged Rusev, and he sent Lana backstage before continuing his tirade in Russian against Cena, demanding yet another rematch before Cena could respond. Wade Barrett, the king of the ring, comes out on the ramp and addresses Rusev, telling the Russian that he is going to be Cena's next challenger, and that Cena will eat a royal bullhammer, and Barrett will be the next United States champion. Then a brawl breaks out on the ramp between Barrett and Rusev, and ended when Barrett KO'd Rusev with his royal bullhammer. Chapter 2. Layla sighed as she stood outside of Stephanie's office when the door opened and Kane, dressed in a black suit, stepped out into the hall. He glanced over at Layla and gives her a nod, which Layla returns. Can I speak to Stephanie? Layla asks. Sure, go on in. I have to go out here and make a #1 contenders match for Cena's US title between Rusev and Barrett, Kane says before walking away. Layla shuddered. She had all but forgotten how creepy Kane was, close up. Stephanie looked up from her notebook when Layla entered her office. Hi, Layla. It's good to have you back, Stephanie said. It's good to be back, Stephanie. Could I, talk to you about something? Layla asked. Sure. What's on your mind? Said Stephanie. Before I got hurt, I was in line for a Divas Championship match against AJ. And I know that she's not employed with WWE anymore, but I was wondering, did I hold your spot for you all this time? Steph asked. Layla nodded. I'm sorry, Layla. I just couldn't do that. You do understand how unfair that would have been to the other divas. Yeah, I do. Sorry to have wasted your time, Stephanie. I'll go now, Layla said in a defeated tone. Stephanie smiled. Come over here, Layla, the billion-dollar princess said. Slowly, Layla turned around and walked over to Stephanie's desk. You know, Layla, I could be persuaded to give you a chance, Stephanie said seductively. What? What do I have to do to persuade you, Stephanie? Layla inquired. Have sex with me, here in my office, Steph answered. What? Now? Layla said in bewilderment. Stephanie gets up and goes to the door and locks it. Then she returned to her chair behind her desk. Strip now, the billion-dollar princess commanded. Chapter 3. Layla quickly does what Steph says and strips down to nothing. Like what you see, Stephanie? Layla asked playfully. Steph stands up and saunters over to Layla and kisses her passionately on the lips. Stephanie held the kiss for nearly a minute before pulling away from Layla. On the desk now, Stephanie growled. Layla didn't hesitate. She hurried over to Stephanie's cherry wood desk and sat on it, facing Stephanie with her legs open. Then Stephanie steps in between Layla's legs and started making out with her. After 10 minutes of heavy kissing and petting, Stephanie sat on the desk next to Layla. On the floor! Lick my boots! And then unzip and remove them, Steph said in a stern voice. Layla drops to her knees in front of Stephanie and slowly licks the brunette's knee-high black leather boots from heel to the top before unzipping and removing them. Then Layla stands up and parts Steph's legs and steps in between them. Stephanie eagerly wraps her legs around Layla's bare waist, and Layla lifts Steph off the desk and turns around and sits back down on the desk with Stephanie on her lap. Layla then reaches around Steph's back and finds the zipper to her dress. Layla carefully unzipped Stephanie's dress. Steph let the now discarded garment fall to the floor. Once both women were nude, Layla stands up again, spins around, and lays Stephanie down on her back on the desk. Got any toys? Layla asked, her voice coated in lust. Second drawer, Stephanie said in a raspy voice. Layla gets off of Stephanie and walks around to the front of the desk and opens the second drawer. Inside, she finds a collection of strap-ons, about a dozen in all. Layla also sees several bottles of lube in the drawer. She grabs a bottle of lube and a large blue 10-inch strap-on. Layla then secures the strap-on's harness to her waist. Then, the ebony Englishwoman applied a generous amount of lube to the strap-on before returning to Stephanie. Stephanie laid on her back, silently inviting Layla to join her. Layla eagerly obliged and climbed on top of Stephanie. Layla entered Stephanie slowly, very slowly. Layla kept going as far as she could inside Stephanie. Steph started to hum no particular song, just sweetness that made Layla vibrate like a tuning fork. By the time we're done, Stephanie, you'll never want your husband to ever touch you again. You're going to be begging only for my touch, Layla whispered. It didn't take long for Stephanie to climax. She arched her back as she came, spewing her cream all over Layla's crotch and waist. Then, the older woman pulled Layla closer to her and cupped Layla's face in her hands before leaning in and kissing her passionately. Layla is on all fours on the desk in front of Stephanie, who is now wearing a pink strap-on around her waist. She slowly eases the toy into Layla's moist rear. Stephanie smiled as she watched Layla writhe with pleasure. Then, with one strong thrust, Stephanie shoved the toy cock all the way inside of Layla, which caused Layla to moan gleefully. Oh! Layla moaned as she rocked back and forth. Stephanie easily matched Layla's motion as she licked her lips. Stephanie! I can't take it anymore. I'm about to come! Layla howled. Me too, Layla! Stephanie moaned as she arched her back. Both Stephanie and Layla came at the same time. Layla lay down on her stomach on the desk, and Stephanie lay down on top of Layla, with the strap-on still inside Layla. Wow, Layla, I would have never guessed that you were this skilled at pleasing women, Stephanie said, as she pulled out of Layla and rolled over onto her back. Layla crawls on top of Stephanie and straddles her. I had two really good teachers, Steph, Layla replied. There's no doubt about that, Layla. Let's get dressed so we can get out to the ring. Why, Steph? I'm going to be in your corner for your match against Alicia Fox, Stephanie said. Okay, Steph, Layla says, before dropping a final kiss onto Stephanie's right breast. Chapter 4. Natalya had Naomi locked in the sharpshooter in the center of the ring. Natalya increased the pressure on Naomi's back until it was too much for Naomi to take, forcing her to tap out. As Stephanie and Layla walk into the empty Divas locker room, Steph hands Layla a key. For my hotel room after the show tonight. I'll be waiting for you, babe, Stephanie whispers in Layla's left ear, making the ebony Englishwoman blush. I know that you're going to win, sweetie, Stephanie said. Layla turns around and wraps her arms tightly around Stephanie and kisses her. Not that I'm complaining, Layla, but what is that for? Steph asked. To give you an idea of what you're in for tonight, Layla said in a sexy tone. Steph had to stifle a moan while Layla pulled back. Knock him dead out there, hon, Steph said, before giving Layla a playful swat on her butt. Layla went out to the ring where Alicia Fox was already waiting. Why are you hanging around with the boss's daughter? You her new pet or something? Alicia asked as Layla enters the ring. The end.